Brian, if you want to go ahead.
Let's see.
I'm not.
Oh.
Good evening, everybody. This is a meeting of the Library Board of Trustees and the Library Director Search Committee. We want you to know that this is being recorded both in audio and video. Attendees may use the GoToWebinar app to participate online or on a mobile device. You'll be able to see the meeting presentation and ask questions when directed. Your audio has been muted. Also, attendees may participate by phone and you are in listen-only mode. If you are interested in raising a hand, if you have a question, you may do so using the raise your hand tool on your control panel, as well as the question and answer section. It will be up to the chair whether or not questions are taken. We just ask that you please use patience when submitting a question before receiving an answer, as these are preliminary interviews, and again, that discretion is left to the chair.
Thank you, Brian. So our first candidate today is Jason. Jason, are you with us? Hang on, Jason. Try again. Jason, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank
Okay.
you very much for inviting me.
I apologize. I needed to unmute you. I apologize for that lag.
That's fine.
Welcome.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
I think
wonderful.
we can. So I just wanted to start off by saying thank you. I know this is a very kind of unconventional way to do an interview. I also want to say if at any point there's some technical difficulties, we will just work through it and you know, keep rolling. I was on a call earlier today, and for whatever reason the screen froze, and you know, we just had to just take a minute and regroup and try again. So hopefully we won't have those issues tonight, but if we do, not to worry. And so what we're going to do, Jason, is just kind of go around round robin and ask you some questions. And I believe that you have the questions that we're going to ask tonight. Yes?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Great. Okay. So before we begin, we'll just kind of introduce ourselves. So I'll start. My name is Mackenzie Bailey. I'm the chair of the Library Trustees, and I've been that for several years now. Becky, you're number one on the question, so why don't we start with you for introductions?
Okay, I'm Becky Hubbard, and I'm an Irving resident, a library user, and I'm also the president of the Friends of the Library.
And Jean, can you go next and just introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Jean Daly. I'm the library assistant.
And Jane, how about you next?
Oh, any more, Jean?
Sorry,
we cut
I didn't
you
want to
off?
cut you off.
Okay. I'm Jane Urban. I am not an Irving resident, but I am the school librarian at Irving Elementary School and a relatively heavy user, both personally and through the school, of the Irving Public Library.
Great. Rupert, can you go next?
Hi, I'm Rupert. I live in Irving. I am also on the Library Board of Trustees.
And Charlie, can you go next?
Yeah, I'm Charles Zielinski. I'm an Irving resident.
And Dan?
I'm Dan Hammock, library trustee and Irving resident.
Wonderful. So Jason, Becky's going to ask the first question for you.
Okay, I am ready.
Okay, and I just have a question in general. Is Jason supposed to be on the screen?
I'm not on the screen right now. I'm happy to be if you want to activate my webcam.
No, that's okay. I was just wondering. This is all new to me, so, but no. Jason, the first question is, why be a library director? And why Irving? What aspect of this position do you expect to like the most? And what aspect would are you thinking that you would like the least?
Thank you. Well, I've been a library director before. It's been a few years, but I've worked in many, many libraries, both as a substitute librarian and as a salaried librarian, as a reference librarian, a children's librarian, youth services librarian, and I've loved all of my positions. But my first, well, not salaried position was in OCAM, and I really did get to know the community very, very well, and I loved being a part of that community. And as a library director, you work with everyone on a regular basis, and that was really a pleasure. And I know that the community in Irving is a pretty close-knit one. I don't know Irving that well, but I'm hoping to get to know it better. As far as what I would not like so much about the position, getting phone calls in the small hours of the morning, I don't think would be very fun to do, but that's part of the job description, so you have to take that into consideration. And let me see, what else did we have as a question? Thank you for your patience. Oh. Did I nail them all? I think I might have. Was there more that you asked that I didn't do?
No, I think you've covered them. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you.
Go ahead, Jean, when you're ready.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, Jean.
Current events. COVID-19 is affecting library services. If we continue to operate from a closed building, what new services would you offer our patrons, and what do you see staff doing?
Thank you. Staff, it's tricky right now. At the library in Orange, we are working on professional development. There's some virtual, a lot we can do virtually. And I think the important thing to remember is that even though we can do a lot of things virtually, we also need to keep the actual building in mind. What can we do when we go back to the library? What can we offer? It's going to be a challenging situation. People are going to perhaps be apprehensive about going out of their homes, let alone going into a public space. So we can think about what can we do to make the library as welcoming as possible. And for that, I have to rely upon the staff and the community because I'm new to the community. I can't know that, right? I wouldn't presume to. But there are many people who do, and those are the people we have to listen to. As far as what the staff can do in addition to those, there's also professional development that we could work on. There are many, many opportunities to do that now. MLS has really stepped up. And there's also ways to communicate with one another. Jane, I think that you were in some of the virtual check-ins, perhaps, with the MLS, the MASIAC virtual check-ins. But to answer your question too, Jean, how can we reach our patrons best as well? Can I ask you a question as well? You want me to wait until the end for my questions?
Go ahead.
Okay. Sure, thank you. Do you have any volunteers who have touched base with you right now? Are they part of the decision-making process as you're considering reopening?
We have a volunteer who comes in every day. She has not been a part of the reopening policy things at this point, but we have discussed what would make her comfortable coming in and what things we could do so that she would still be able to come in and volunteer. Our daily volunteer is 87.
Okay, and is she well?
So, oh, she could outrun me.
Okay. Wonderful. And that's something else to keep in mind too, is we're working remotely. We're professionals, but we're people too. You know, we're all part of the community, and we have to support one another, whether we're in the library or in our homes. That really comes first. You know, we are the library. We all want it to succeed. It's not just the space we're in, right? So we need to keep each other's well-being in mind. And as far as our patrons go, I mean, I do have some ideas of programs that we could offer as a springboard, but you know, there's mostly virtual stuff that involves social interaction. Book clubs are the obvious one. Conversations, casual conversations over coffee, online instruction, yoga, painting. These are all things that you can do remotely. But again, it's important to remember that, hey, oh, this is a wonderful time where there's so much we can do with technology. That's true. But I think it's even more important now to bear in mind that our public spaces are even more important too. And we need to make sure we don't keep that out of the equation. And make sure we're always thinking about that. Thanks, Gina.
Jane, can I just interject? Jason, we've moved you to an where it's available for your webcam to be on. So I'm going to go ahead and turn your webcam on just so we can see your face while you're talking. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So just make sure on your end that the webcam is on.
Okay, let me see here. Webcam. All webcam spaces are currently being used. Yeah.
Oh.
Wait until a space opens and try again.
Okay. We will continue to work on that.
Okay.
Okay, shall I go ahead?
Oh, there we are. Hello.
Oh, whoops.
Oh, hello.
Oh, there.
There I am. Hello.
Although,
Hi, Jason.
hi.
Hi. That's so much nicer, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, although we
answer
lost
questions now.
Jean, but
Oh.
Right.
no. Maybe we can
I'm
take
still
turns.
here, but I just stopped sharing my webcam.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
okay. We're okay. Thank you, Jean. Okay, Jean, go ahead and ask your question. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, hi. Our young adults barely saw the new building before it closed, excuse me. They are a varied group: gamers, serious readers, crafters. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience working with young adults? What have you found engages them? What services and activities would you offer them through the Irving Public Library?
Thank you. My experience is pretty strong. I don't work as a teen librarian right now. I do work with tweens, and there's quite a bit of crossover there with the teenagers on the younger side of the spectrum. In the past, also, I've worked with high school students. It's been a little while, but I'm very involved still with those in the library and also those in my own household. As far as how we can reach them, I think creating content is the thing which is most important. Actually, it's probably secondary to any kind of social interaction that we could provide in the library. And so there's ways for people to do that online, obviously. If anyone's going to be comfortable doing that, it's going to be the teens in our user group.
Yeah.
So I think we would need to go to them and ask them what they want to do. Again, this is something which I've thought about doing and tried to begin implementing before this pandemic hit. I was working on trying to enlist some tweens for a tween interest group, because certainly one of the problems that I've run into in Orange is that the facility is not accessible. It's not a very attractive building. I think we can all agree, if you've seen the inside of the building, there are some significant challenges to providing good programming in there. So the best way to have good programming happen is have it come from the students, the teams, right? So have them tell us, what do they enjoy doing? So I say they know best. And I think getting them to be involved in that process, especially now, will be a benefit when we start working with them in person again. So ideas, what can we actually offer? We can't just lay it all at their doorstep, right? We have to offer them something to get them to participate. One thing you can do right now, there's a wonderful webinar out there on using Roll20, which is an online gaming system. It's something you can use to do tabletop gaming, role-playing gaming, Dungeons and Dragons, for example. And it's a little tricky to use if you're not familiar with role-playing games in D&D. Fortunately, I am and have been doing quite a bit of work in that regard. And it's not that hard to do. It's something which we could get running pretty quickly. If you know the rules of the game, fortunately I do, it's pretty hard to start from scratch. But if you have background in the game, you can do it very, very quickly using Roll20. There's that. Also, there's promotional videos for the library as well. We can't just ask our teams to be recipients of our services. Even if they have the ideas, perhaps they can also step up and help us promote the library. It's new, presumably they're excited about it, and can tell their peers, hey, listen, this is what's happening at the library, or guess what I think you should do at the library. And these can be posted on your Instagram page and Facebook, or other settings as well if you have a blog or something, or you want to develop one, that would be another option. So there's some, provide them something to get them interested, and then have them take the lead and help them succeed. By extension, we'll succeed.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much. I think I'm next. This is Rupert again. And I'm going to ask you question 4, which reads, which is about leadership. So as a library director, you'd be expected to show leadership with your staff and with volunteers, as well as within the community. And so I'd like you to describe your leadership style with people that you supervise and with peers, such as other department heads.
Thank you. My leadership style is to encourage everyone to play to their strengths. We work better when we work together, and we can identify what those are, and give staff some agency. Then I think that they'll feel empowered and feel included and involved, because they will be. There's no denying the reality, right? If they're doing it, they'll know it. You can tell them all you want, but unless they're doing it, they're not going to believe you, right? It's not going to come tomorrow. It's going to happen today, or it's not going to happen at all. So encourage people to do that. As far as peers are concerned and staff in the rest of the town, our staff in the town are patrons too. We are going to know them. They're going to come in the door and we're going to chat with them. We're going to enjoy their company. And when we gather together with them, we're going to do so on a professional basis, yes, but also on a personal basis. And that will offer us a better experience as we work together. We all want the town to succeed, the library to succeed. We're working with the same values. And so to recognize that and viewing others as equal partners, that's what we need to do. And we'll find success that way. So viewing our other town departments as equal partners and encouraging our other staff members to do their best work and not be threatened by it. Someone else's success doesn't diminish me in a leadership position. It's quite the opposite.
Thank you.
Number 5.
Charlie,
Okay,
you're
so
up.
we have a history of running many events for all age groups and various interests. Tell us briefly about a library event you planned that was successful and one that was not. Also, what would you do differently in the future?
Thank you. I'll start with the one which was not as successful as I had hoped. I had applied for a grant from the Greenfield Garden Club and also from Monarch Watch. You've seen this on my resume, it's on there, creating a pollinator garden in cooperation with the member of the Friends, who also happens to be on the Board of Trustees, Mariah Bull, who has a real interest in pollinator gardens. So we collaborated together, figured out what we needed to do. I got a grant from Monarch Watch for free milkweed. If you don't know about pollinators and monarch butterflies, they need milkweed as their host plant. They lay their eggs on it and so forth. And pollinators, like primarily monarch butterflies, travel and have several life cycles as they go through from garden to garden. So you keep having a stream of pollinators that keep moving through your area. So the idea was to have this exciting draw for adults and children, a vibrant pollinator garden where people can come in and watch the butterflies and hummingbirds, and then to use that draw as a way to create other programming. Story walks, for instance, a very simple one that's always, in good weather at least, very attractive for the public on the topic of pollinators, butterflies, and the history, and so forth. But that of course all assumes that your milkweed doesn't die.
Oops.
Our milkweed died. So we had to offer what we could, right? We didn't just throw the whole thing away. We said, all right, here's what didn't work. We made note of it and said, what can we salvage? There's still a lot we can offer. We can still offer the story walks. We can have chrysalides in the library so kids can watch them hatch. We can document that and post it on our Facebook page, which we did. So there's still things that we could use and then learn from our error of not planting the milkweed in the well-drained area. And we're doing that now. We were a short while ago before we are confined to our homes. Working with the same trustee and friend, Mariah Bull, she created a wonderful spreadsheet of all the different plants you can use to feed butterflies and other pollinators. We sat down at the library fairly recently and said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We'll plot out the garden in such and such a way so we don't have the same problem. And that again is the foundation. Once we figure out how that's going to work best, then we will move from there. Of course, I don't know if it's going to happen now. The planting season is going by. I'm trying to stay safe. I hope she is trying to stay safe as well. And that's really the most important thing. But you know what? The garden's still going to be there. And Mariah's still going to be there as far as I know. So if I'm there, I will help. I mean, I would very much like to be working next door in Irving, but things are always a work in progress. And you can't take things personally. You have to expect that things aren't going to always work. They just aren't. They just aren't. And it's okay that they don't always work. If you don't experiment, then you're not going to grow. So have the courage to go out and try something new. As far as things that can work very, very well, if everything goes according to plan, there's a program that you can use now for online summer reading programs. And it's a pretty simple program, but it's a very, very engaging one in my opinion. It's called Beanstack, and it's a pretty expensive program. Fortunately, we received a grant from the MBLC in Orange. It was a very, very simple application. It's about a 5-minute web form. We received the grant, and my original plan was to just offer a sort of an add-on service to our regular summer reading program where people come into the library primarily and work off the paper logs. But then, of course, we are now no longer in that scenario where it's very easy for folks to do that. So what was initially going to be a small add-on component to our summer reading program has become the central focus, not only for the children's program, but also I'm using it to expand a teen summer reading program, which is always sort of an afterthought. It's making that something which is rich and viable and a little bit distinct from the children's program. And also the adult program has moved over to using Beanstack pretty much entirely, and that was not part of the original plan. So this is proving to be not just a success, but a real improvement over the current situation. I guess either way, you kind of is a success. But it's really good. We're working together with the other staff. Now we have to keep in mind that it is a big switch for how we've been doing things before. We are also keeping it equitable. If people do want to work with paper logs, they can come into the library and pick them up. Staff can enter their information into this Beanstack system. We'll still do our raffles. We can do those virtually. We can mail prizes out. If people want to have their paper logs, if they want to keep using those, they can. We'll mail those to them. And this was all coordinated with the head of adult services, with the library director, Jessica Magdalena. Everyone's on board. So it's really going to work well. And this all came from me thinking, oh, this would be fun. Here's a 5-minute web form. I'll fill it out and see what happens. And it turned out to be, it's quite lucky, of course, right? Sometimes that happens though. And if it does, make the most of it. And that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. The next question is, tell us about your experiences developing and advocating for budgets with trustees, finance committees, or at town meetings. And secondly, what's your experience managing and reporting on a budget over the course of a year?
Thank you. When I was working as a library director in OCAN, this was part of the job, of course, right? Creating the annual report for the libraries, getting certification, making sure we're reaching our MAR, and talking to the finance committee and explaining that to them. say, listen, here's what the budget has to be. If you're going to cut the budget, please make sure you cut us equally, because we need to make sure that we don't lose our certification. And that can happen. If you are going to have cuts, then you need to make sure those cuts are equitable across the board. Otherwise, the library commissioners are going to perhaps assume that there's no reason to certify you because the town isn't behind you. That's clearly not the case in Irving, obviously. So to the finance committee what the proposal is, and if they support it, then you can go forward. Have I stood before the town meeting to answer questions about it? No. I have not. However, I'd be very comfortable doing it. I believe in the library. I know what we're offering. When I completed the certification for the library when I was in OCAM, when I first came in, the librarian who was working there before me had to leave the position pretty abruptly, and she had a family crisis she had to deal with on the Cape, so she had to leave. And when I started, we were in the middle of the recertification process, and I had to work with the budget, which actually was incorrect. It was about $50 or $100 off. So it was an error, right? No one really had a problem. It's just that there was an issue with the paperwork. So I had the experience of getting a waiver and going through that process. It was a lot of paperwork, but fortunately the stakes weren't terribly high, of course, because things were so tough back then. The state was already pretty much granting waivers. If anybody asked, it wasn't a problem. But that said, we still had to receive the waiver, and we did, fortunately, in OCAM. And the following year, it was a conventional reapplication for certification, which we succeeded in doing. And it's pretty fun. It's very satisfying to make sure the library is maintaining its professional status and still there for the public. It's just a little scary. It is a little scary if your certification is not assured early. But that's how it goes. So trustees and friends also. Communicating to the trustees what the priorities are for the library and where you see the library going. That's something which isn't that hard to do. The trustees obviously care about the library, right? Always involved in the process. So there are open ears and open hearts because we all want the library to succeed. It's a question of listening to one another. And certainly as a library director, again, as I said before, I don't have the answers. I will learn and do my best. I'm not going to walk in the door saying, hello, I know what your library should do, because I don't. I won't pretend that I do, but I will be willing to listen and to learn and to share my feelings honestly and my ideas honestly and to listen to what you have to say. Now, I will, of course, speak my mind, but do so politely and let you know what I think the right thing to do is. But if I'm wrong, I can certainly admit it. I enjoy talking about libraries. It's not a hard thing for me to do. Happy to, regardless of the situation, whether it's friends, trustees, or the town, or patrons in general. As far as the friends are concerned, I work very closely with the friends group right now. Budget's pretty tight in Orange. There is no programming budget, so I work very closely with the friends to secure budgets, funding for our programs. They're wonderful people, and they are very, very supportive of our programming. In fact, they are, even now, in a time of this COVID library closing, even now, they have supported our Bean Stacks Summer Reading Program. We're doing a community read challenge where the friends have said up to $400 will donate this to the Franklin County Community Meals Program, which funds the Orange Food Pantry. So the friends are behind this and trying to support the community and recognizing this is a worthwhile endeavor that we're embarking on with our online program. And they've also supplied money for prizes that we can then mail to the winners through a random electronic drawing for our Bean Stack program. And that's because I've been able to forge a very good relationship with the friends. Obviously, it's not very hard to do because, again, they care and they're here for us. But still, you need to present your proposals so that it's clear and it's understood what your priority is and why you think it's worthwhile. And that's in the case.
This is Jean. I'm going to ask about technology. What experience do you have maintaining computers, laptops, iPads, etc., and selecting and installing software? What experience do you have working with and maintaining wireless networks, antivirus and anti-malware software, and privacy controls?
Yeah, thank you. The one thing I don't have much experience with is wireless networks on a large scale. And certainly, at home I have one, and I can do troubleshooting if I need to at the library now on the fly. So I have experience, but I would need to acquaint myself with the switches, with the switch that you have there, and the modems, and seeing how this all connects and make it work. I know enough about computers to know what I don't know, right? I'm not going to make an error out of ignorance. I'm going to recognize what I need to, and seek out those who can. What I can do, of course, is do the day-to-day work of maintaining your computers. I've looked into, in my current position now, trying to use our iPads for mobile outreach. There were some questions at the very beginning whether or not this would work, meaning running Evergreen on iPads. And we had a conversation back and forth with the state, and then first the thought was, oh, this won't work. And I thought, well, it looks like it maybe can. And it turns out it was somewhere in the middle. It could work, but not the way I wanted to use it. But I was able to have the conversation and work through what the process is and try it, right? Try it and see if it would work. And the answer in that case was no, it didn't work. But if situations change a little bit, then yes, it can. There's potential there for it to change. Installing anti-malware and antivirus software, that's just part and parcel of dealing with the world we live in today. With our computer networks, that certainly is not an issue. Lots of stuff available for free, Malwarebytes, AVG antivirus, there's many sources. I prefer not to use a free program if I can, because I have some doubts about the privacy that it affords. I think it's worth spending a little bit of money to ensure the privacy of our patrons. And likewise, there are programs like Deep Freeze, for example, the passive one's been around for a long time. Make sure that our computers are wiped overnight and in the morning start fresh, so that patrons can be assured that their personal information is no longer readily accessible. It's in there somewhere, maybe somewhere out there as well. But we can do what we can to keep them assured that we're working in their interest and their privacy. Yes, can I swap out hard drives? No, I can't do that. At least I haven't yet. I assume that I probably could if I had to. But again, for those sort of things, I'll have to consult others who can do so confidently and competently, more so than I can.
Okay. Okay, the next question is about older adults. Tell us about your experience working with older adults. Oops, what was that? Okay. What have you found engages them? What services and activities would you offer them through the Irving Public Library?
Thank you. Yeah, I've worked very closely with adults. When I was working in OCAM, the senior center happened to be right across from the library. And so it was a regular thing to go in during their weekly luncheon and say, hello, here's what's happening at the library. We're running computer trainings, for example. That was something which was pretty popular, an hour every week for up to 2 patrons to come in and learn some computer basics. How do you run an email program? And you have to, at that time, there wasn't necessarily Google Docs and such, right? But you had to write a letter through a Word program. How do you do that? What is a spreadsheet program if you want to go that far? But a lot of people weren't, they weren't quite there yet. But they did want to communicate with the rest of their family. They wanted to do some kind of business across the internet. Of course, even then, that was a part and parcel of what they had to do, and we have to do. So there's that, of course, basic financial help now, computer access now, health issues now as well. What can the library provide, particularly now? That's something which we can look into doing. And there's also just fun crafting stuff as well. You can do your knitting at home, and even if you can't post it online yourself, presumably you could even mail in a hard copy if you had to. Oh, I think most people are at least comfortable doing things, maybe on their Facebook page. But even if you don't mail us a hard copy, we can put something together and post it on our Facebook page, Irving's Facebook page, and share our stuff that we're doing at home with our peers, whether we're seniors or children. The library's there for all of us, right? So everyone's considered to be an equal when it comes to providing programming.
Great.
If I could just interject for a moment. So I'm just watching the time and we are getting short on time, and I just want to let you know that I'm a talker. I can talk for a long time too. So I always find it helpful just to kind of know where we're at. We
Yeah,
do
yeah.
have 3 more questions and then kind of a
Sure.
follow-up. So just keep that in mind. You're just getting a little bit shorter on time.
Okay, thank you very much. I can go on a little bit, but that's fine. I can keep things succinct.
Okay, the next question is on technology. Can you share with us some experiences you've had with helping the less tech-savvy people with their technology?
Yes, yes, it's a regular thing in Orange. People will come down to the children's room actually to use our computers. There's only 4 of them upstairs in the adult area. So folks very often come downstairs to use our computers in the children's room. And it's very much like what I described earlier. Where, how do I use my email? Or I have to type up this resume. How do I do that? And I show them maybe if not Word, then the free Office software that's available, LibreOffice, OpenOffice, and help them with their everyday stuff. There, of course, is a limit to how much I can do in my position. It's kind of like just showing them how to do it, and then if they want help with the actual content, I have to explain to them that I can't really work on that. We can only go so far. I'm open to doing whatever people need me to do, but at the same time, it's their business, not mine. Give them the tools and let them do it is the idea. And that's the same thing goes for the Libby app, for example. If you don't know what that is, it was a wonderful webinar on what the Libby app is, and they had a wonderful promotional phrase which I've already started to use, which is it's the one-tap reading app from Overdrive, which I think is a wonderful way to succinctly describe what it is. People are wondering, what is Libby? Well, it's an app. Yeah. I use Overdrive. Can I keep using Overdrive? So, well, this is actually offered by Overdrive. It's something you'll be able to work with. So find where people are at already and try to explain to them what the next step is. So whether that's computers, email, or Libby app, no, I'll stop there. I know time is short.
Okay.
Rupert, when you're ready, you've got the next one.
Oh, thanks for the cue. I was busy typing. All right, so I'm number 10. My bad. So as you probably know, we're open Sundays, and that's really a popular day. It's one of our busiest days. And so just want to check in with you when we go back to having a brick and mortar library again at 2 Care Drive, how you feel about working on Sundays.
I would love it. I'm very happy to hear that it's busy on Sundays. I would want to be there for sure on the busiest day. And there's no other commitments that I have on a Sunday that prevent me from doing so.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Jean, when you're ready, you've got the next one.
But I was muted. Okay. Thank you. Here in Irving, the director collaborates with the school librarian, the monthly town newsletter, and the senior center, etc. Can you speak to your experience and or your vision collaborating with other town groups? And what did you learn from your experiences?
Yes. Just this week, I attended the school council meeting for Orange Elementary Schools, worked very closely with them, and Chris Dodge, there was the principal, and now at both the elementary schools in Orange, Dexter Park Innovation School and Fisher Hill. It's a very, very welcoming environment, and I found that they're very supportive of what the library's been doing. I was even asked at the last school council meeting just about 2 days ago whether or not I could train the teachers there at the elementary school on how to use Beanstack. So I feel we've got a rock solid relationship there. For the seniors, Tracy Gaudette runs the senior center. She's always very willing to help promote any family offerings that we have for programming. And so she'll run that in the senior newsletter. Across the town, I feel I have very good relationships. We're all working, again, as I said earlier at the beginning of our talk here, we're all working together and everyone recognizes that in Orange, I imagine there.
Great. Okay, so I have the last question, and it's really for you to be asking, which is there anything else that you would like to ask us, or anything else that you want to share with us?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. So I'll keep my questions limited. How much time do we have left?
We actually, I mean, we had set aside 45 minutes, and we've hit the 45-minute mark. But
Okay.
so if your questions are short,
Well,
Okay.
we didn't start right at 5 though. We've got a few minutes more, I think, maybe.
yes, you know what, Jean, you are correct. That's true. You're right. We do have a few minutes. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, but give me a heads up if it's getting too short. I know you have other candidates to interview as well, and I want to give them a fair shake here. So I do want to let you know that in regards to the last comment, I hope that I'm the candidate you're looking for, but only you can know if I am. And I, of course, I respect the fact that if I'm not the right candidate, I certainly hope you find the right one, because we all work for a common goal, right? And the success of your library in Irving is going to hopefully inspire other towns around us that, hey, you know what, look at what has happened in Irving. This is fantastic. The community supports the library. The library is doing wonderful things for the community. So a town like Orange can look to that and say, okay, wow, you know, the library right now is in tough shape. Yes. Oh, but look, we can make this happen. That's good. Of course, if the money's not there, the money's not there. Nothing you can do about that. So on that topic, how have you found the budgets to be going forward? Is there any issue you can foresee? Right now in Orange, there's quite a bit of talk about how the regional schools are impacting the town budget. Are there any, and that's been a big surprise and quite concerning to the Finance Committee, are there any major financial issues that you see going forward?
I'm going to offer Dan if he wants to add anything or answer that question at all, or if not, that's okay too.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're
Dan,
muted.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can, thank you.
I'm a little technical challenged myself. I'm on the Finance Committee also. Other than the uncertainty of the state revenue being down in the drain with all this that's going on today, we don't know what the state's going to come up with later, how it affect the whole town. Don't know whether it'll affect the library much. People have been very supportive of supporting the library. That's the big elephant in the room for everyone, everywhere, I think. We have a couple issues in town that are financial challenges. We have an old mill that we're trying to deal with, and don't know where that's going to end up. I have a committee looking at that. We have a variety of ongoing projects because we have interested people and senior housing initiatives and a variety of things going on. But overall, we've been very fortunate in our tax base to be able to support the things people want to support. We're not in the place of many towns have to decide, are we going to have a teacher's aide or buy a new bucket for the backhoe? We have avoided that. So we're, I'd say, financially stable, and we have a good stabilization account that would take us for a while. So.
Yeah, that's very good news. All right, so you got a new building, new construction. What surprises have cropped up?
Good question.
I don't know if I can answer, just throwing a bit of an answer. Others may, we don't have a whole lot to go on. We're only open for a couple of weeks before haven't been in there. Perhaps Jean might be able to shed some light. I think we're anticipating a lower electric bill when all of our photovoltaic stuff comes along, but I'm not sure we know enough about it yet to know if there are any big surprises.
Yeah. We technically were only open for 10 days.
I think the big surprises are going to come to the new director, because we haven't found them yet. So, surprise.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, I'll keep it to 2 out of respect for your time. and your courtesy in inviting me here. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was nice seeing you, Jason.
Right, you too. All right, I'll close out here. Be well.
Okay, you too.
Stay safe.
Stay healthy.
So only six squares can show up at once? There she is.
Back again.
I guess I've never had that. I mean, I have not run across that before where all the spots were taken, but I guess we're a big enough group that happens. Thank you, Jane, for the time. I was thinking, oh my God, he's going so far over, and I forgot that we staggered it a little bit by 15 minutes. So
Well, we actually, I didn't quite get it because he came on about 5:10 or so. So I was a little surprised. Are we waiting till the 15 minutes after, or, I mean, it worked out okay, you know,
Brian might be able to answer this better, but I suspect it is because this is already in session. So they've got to have the link that introduces them into this meeting. And because we're already up and running, he can't have a link that only allows him at 5:15. That's my guess.
100% correct.
Right? If we
Okay.
started our meeting at 5:15, then he wouldn't be able to get in before 5:15. But because we're already, you know, we've already started to meet, he can jump in early. And I don't know that, Brian, that right? There's probably not a way around that.
That's correct.
Yeah. I was wondering that myself when we were scheduling them, and because I had asked Brian to make sure that he, when he sent it out, said, you know, like 5:15 and whatever, to give us that little bit of time in the beginning to like sort out all these issues and arrange the questions and blah blah blah. I didn't want him sitting on the line while we were doing all of that. But yeah, I think that's
Thanks. Good move.
a function of the meeting.
Okay.
Could I say, apologize, I knew that I had the rating forms, but I had not looked at them. I just glanced at them. Didn't realize they had the questions on the form. So I do have the questions. If you want me to ask the questions, we go ahead. I can.
Okay, we might, for the next person, we potentially would do that. I am going to ask, so our next person is not on yet. I'm going to ask if I can scoot away just for a minute to grab another drink. I've talked a lot today and my voice is very dry. My throat is very dry. So if I can, I will mute myself and just take my camera off so you're not looking at a blank screen, but I can certainly hear you all if you want to continue to discuss anything or, you know, whatever comments you want to make. I just wanted to let you know that I'm just going to scoot out for half a second to grab a drink.
Okay.
Me too.
Jean, I'm so happy to see you inside.
In my own house.
Ooh,
Fantastic.
cool.
It's lovely.
Great. I
feel much more professional this way.
I thought you handled the car situation pretty well, though. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Just
you're
not that
inside.
same professional feeling. Yes.
You look like you're ready to tell us a story. You've got the easy chair there.
Yes.
Would you like to hear a story? I'm pretty sure that the whole open meeting thing. I don't know that the whole open meeting thing wants to hear a story though, so.
Well,
But if everybody's there, you know that they're interested in the library.
Yes.
yeah, there you go. Okay. Well,
Actually, I can tell you all the story my mother always told me when I asked her to tell me a story at bedtime. It's very quick. I'll tell you a story about Jack Mallory, and now my story's begun. I'll tell you another about his brother, and now my story is done. And that was it.
Thank you.
All right, I am back with a drink and my papers. You should see my house right now. I've got papers and stuff everywhere.
Mackenzie, is that next candidate with us yet?
Not yet.
Okay, I'd like to ask,
Wait. Just let me double check. Not yet.
I'd like to ask a question of the group, and perhaps I missed this, but I want to try to be clear. If we can have a goal of reviewing these 7 candidates, maybe narrow down to 3 to recommend to the trustees. Is that a reasonable goal? I mean,
Yes, it is. And I apologize. I should have said that at the beginning. That is my hope as well, is that after Saturday, that we could sit for a few minutes after the meeting, after the last candidate on Saturday, and kind of talk through, if we haven't had time yet, talk through the candidates, and by the time we leave on Saturday, have a second year worth of candidates, 2, 3, somewhere in that range, that then the trustees can do the final interview or final decision making on. So we wouldn't need everybody in the committee to do another round of interviews. Does that make sense? I'm not sure that I'm clear.
Yeah.
and then we would adjourn to a separate trustees meeting, different date, not just a continuation of the process for evaluation.
Yes, that would be my suggestion. Yep.
Okay, all right.
Yep. And so we can do it one of 2 ways. We can stay each night at the end, after the final candidate each night, and kind of review our rubrics and kind of make our thoughts known about the candidates that we've interviewed so far. Or we can wait and do all of that on Saturday, after we've done everybody. I know which way I would want to do it, but I would like to hear from everybody else so that we have a consensus on how people want to manage this next part. Everybody should be using their rubric and kind of giving a score. And so then, we add up the scores type thing. Do you want to do that each night after the last candidate? Or do you want to wait and do all of that on Saturday all together at once?
Since I failed to pick up my packet on time, I would probably not be able to do the scoring part. If folks want to go ahead and do that each night, that's fine, and I trust the committee.
Rupert, do you think you might be able to get it there tomorrow to pick it up?
Yes,
Okay.
Brian said fine.
Okay, so we could still move forward with that process. You could score on Friday, on Saturday, and it would just be today's that you would have to. I mean, we can
Right.
give
I can go back and rescore tonight when I have the rubric, but if the committee wants to go ahead and score tonight's 2 candidates, I'll just opt out of that part.
Mm-hmm. We did get we had a template. I don't know if you have, I have this huge envelope of all these papers, and it seems like in the very initial, there was one.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I'm looking for it now. Give me a minute.
So you could at least kind of get,
Yep,
hang on.
absolutely.
Mackenzie, I'm not sure, but since this is an open meeting, would we want to discuss this? I guess we'd have to discuss it all together.
Yep, in open meeting.
Found it.
Awesome.
okay.
So yes, Becky, it would be an open meeting, and it would be, the choice is either at 7, whatever tonight when we're done with the last candidate, each night, or on Saturday after we go through all of them. I mean, it would take up more time if we did it on Saturday. It would take up less time if we did it each night, But what I'm looking for is how do people feel about that process? Which way do you want to complete that part?
Personally,
It doesn't make sense to me.
go ahead.
Sorry. It doesn't make sense to me to do them tonight because we're only going to be comparing two people and we won't know, I think it would be easier to do it when we have everybody.
Well, what you're doing is you're scoring. So we're just talking about, we would just be talking about the scores of those two people. So Jason got what score? The next candidate got what score?
Oh,
Does that
okay.
make
Okay.
sense? Go ahead,
Right.
Rupert.
Yes, I didn't realize that's what you.
My feeling is that we might end up giving leader candidates an advantage by doing the scoring of two at a time. That might not be fair.
I'm sorry. So Rupert, what are you suggesting?
So if we discuss the scoring of our first two candidates tonight, then that might give later candidates an advantage to try to get an idea of what we're looking for, and that might not be fair.
So no one else, I can see who's attending the meeting, and there isn't anybody else attending the meeting that is a candidate right now. Just if that's what you're trying, if that's what you mean.
Huh.
I'm not sure, Rupert, if that's what you were
Yeah.
meaning or not.
That's what I mean, but yeah, and I don't know when the open meeting records become public for the
Right,
videos.
that's what I was gonna say. If somebody could view this meeting tomorrow, I don't know, then they could watch this whole interview process tomorrow. I don't know if it will be available or not.
Right. So it really, technically, they could be doing that right now. I mean, this is an open meeting, so any or all of the candidates could be on right now,
Right.
watching this whole process. I can tell you
Right.
that it is, but that's because by the nature of it being an open meeting, anybody could. And that's where it gets a little different than the way we normally have it, where a candidate would come and sit in the room with us, and obviously nobody else would be in there with us. All of the candidates, any of the candidates could be watching any step of this process.
No, but I mean, tomorrow, can they look back at this interview today? Because this is being recorded. So will the recording be available tomorrow so that the candidates for tomorrow or Saturday can review someone else's responses and our responses and get
So,
that advantage?
right. That would be a Brian question as far as how quick of a turnaround time this is before it goes on the website. But again, I would say somebody could be doing that now. Somebody could be listening right now to the interview and our responses, even if their interview isn't until Saturday, because it's an open meeting. So
Did you say that you can see whether or not there are people looking? And you think there aren't any, there's nobody at this point?
there's not any other candidates on our meeting right now.
It does still seem like at any point they could be. I mean, even.
Yep, because it's an open meeting.
I'm wondering if we should just pick a way to do this and just be consistent. And maybe it is best to just wait till the very end. I mean, there's pluses and minuses for both. If, waiting till Saturday, we might forget a little bit about what happened tonight. I don't know. I mean, I do have a score. I'm sort of used to doing this from the school process. I don't know about the rest of you. It's kind of it is a little bit of a learning curve to get used to it, but.
So our next candidate, Lisa, is here. So why don't we go ahead and move forward with Lisa, and we will discuss this more after. So we're not, we can go ahead and get going. How does that sound, everybody? Okay?
Great.
Sounds good.
Mackenzie?
Yes.
Mackenzie?
Yes.
After we introduce ourselves, I will shut off my webcam again because I actually have a better connection that way.
Excellent. That's
oh, really?
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you
I
for that.
felt bad that you were kind of hidden the whole time, but. It's,
No,
if that's your
keeps it from
choice.
breaking up.
Okay.
Okay, so Lisa, let me see. Hang on, I've got to just unmute and get set. Lisa, are you with us?
Yes, I am. I just saw the message that said you are unmuted. So,
Great.
hi.
So Lisa, what we're going to do, we've discovered, so let me just tell you, I'm Mackenzie Bailey. I'm the chair of the library trustees. What we've discovered is that one of our committee members needs to go off the using their webcam so that your webcam will come on. So we will do that in a minute, and that way we'll be able to see your actual face throughout this process.
Alrighty.
So we will do that as soon as Jean introduces herself. So we'll go around and do some quick introductions, and you'll be able to, I'll be able to turn your webcam on. So Jean, why don't you go ahead and...
Excellent. Sounds good.
Great. So Jean, if you want to introduce yourself. Yep.
I think it's frozen.
No, Jean or
Oh, so we're going to go ahead and have Becky start introducing herself while I try and get Jean to maybe unmute herself so that she can participate. Go ahead, Becky.
Isn't technology great?
Yeah.
I'm Becky Hubbard, and I'm an Irving resident and an avid library user, and I'm also president of the Friends of the Library.
Excellent. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Jean, can you hear me?
Yes.
There you are. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jean Daly. I'm the library assistant. It's nice to meet you, Lisa.
Nice to meet you too, Jean.
Okay, so Jean is going to go off. So Becky, you can, so Lisa, you can come on. There we go.
There we go.
All right. So Jane, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Jane Urban. I am not an Irving resident. I am the librarian over at Irving Elementary School, though, and both myself and the school use the public library quite a bit.
Oh, good. I love Irving Elementary. I actually used to take a step aerobics class there with one of the employees that taught, and we would go after school was over. It was a great facility.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rupert, and I'm on the Board of Trustees of the library and an Irving resident. I'm a relative newcomer. I've only been here for 19 years.
Oh, that's it, G.
I'm Dan Hammock, library trustee, Irving resident, and finance committee. Welcome.
Nice to meet you. Excuse me for just a second. Trevi, go downstairs. Sorry, we just about got dog bombed.
Charlie, do you want to go next?
Yes, I'm Charles Zelinsky. I'm an Irving resident, and I'm also on the finance committee.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Great.
Okay. The first question, why do you want to be a library director, and why in Irving? And then what aspect of this position do you expect to like the most? And which aspect do you expect to or anticipate to like the least? And I can repeat the question. I know it's lengthy after.
Oh, no, that's fine. Brian actually sent me the list of questions, so I'm cheating and I've got them on my phone.
Oh, that's
Just
great.
in case the connection works as well as the connection I just had with our library building committee meeting where I couldn't log on at all. It was wonderful. Why a library director? I like the idea of giving back to communities. I don't want to say I've reached my full potential in my current position because with the new building that Greenfield is building, there's definitely all kinds of new things to do and interesting things that are going on. But I always felt like I could expand my horizons. And why Irving sort of builds into that. I'm interested in being a director, but I'm interested in being a director in a smaller community where I can make a difference. I look at some of the larger communities, and the library directors seem to be more straight administrators. They're not really as hands-on. And I like being hands-on. I like people. I like ordering materials. I like dealing with technology. I like creating programs that hopefully people will enjoy and attend. I see there's a question about that later on. And Irving, okay, part of it I admit is you have a gorgeous new building. I haven't made it in there yet. I was all set to go, and then we got COVID-19. But it just seems like the perfect size, the perfect location. It's, relatively close to my home, which is lovely. I know people from Irving because they use our library in Greenfield, and everyone that I've met has been lovely. It seems like a kind of place where I could go and make a difference and build community. And what do I expect to like the most and the least? It's kind of two edges of the same coin. I think I would like the most having new challenges and new experiences. And what I would like the least is I would definitely miss Greenfield. You have my resume. I have been at Greenfield since my library career started. So while I'm ready for a change, I think leaving that is gonna be something that's gonna be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Jean, are you ready with your question?
Yes, I am. Current events. COVID-19 is affecting library services. If we continue to operate from a closed building, what new services would you offer our patrons, and what do you see staff doing?
Oh boy. COVID-19 has been everybody's topic of conversation lately. How to restart library services, how to change the services that you offer. I will admit one thing that I don't know is how widespread or how good internet access is in Irving. I tried looking that up, and it's complicated to find an actual correct answer. One of the things that I would like to do if I get the position would be to start doing remote programming, online story times for the kids, online book discussion groups, gatherings where people can talk about what recipes they've been making while they've been quarantined. I don't know about all of you, but I've been doing, and my son have been doing a lot of baking these past couple of weeks. I know that you have an outdoor, I don't want to call it a book depository, but an after hours holds pickup location. I think that would be ideal for, if people can't come in the building for a while, have them call the library and ask us to get things on hold from the collection, put them in bags with their names on them, put them out into the book pickup. Your friends group, if you have extra books for book sales, obviously we're not having those right now, putting those together in bags for just grab and go collections, fantasy books, graphic novels, biographies, nonfiction. We do something at Greenfield every February called Blind Date with a Book, where we wrap up books in wrapping paper, and we put the first sentence of the book in the barcode number so we can check it out. But this would be like a blind group date with a book, or a group blind date with a book, where you'd have 5 or 6 books in a bag, and it would just be under a subject heading. If you like it, great. If you don't, well, that's what happens on blind dates sometimes.
Well, sort of taking that to our young adults, the young adults in town barely saw the new building before it closed. They're a varied group. They're gamers, serious readers, crafters. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience working with young adults? What have you found engages them? And what services and activities would you offer them through the Irving Public Library?
So interestingly enough, when I started working in Greenfield, I started working in the children's room. And the breakdown that we had was our children's librarian dealt with the younger kids and I dealt with the older kids. So some of this is applicable for online, some of it is in person. But I know one of the things that I did that was very successful, I ran a young adult writing group. I had the kids come in once a week for about an hour. We would do 10, 15 minutes of word games. It's amazing how much fun you can have with magnetic poetry. Hand them all an envelope and start building poems, one word at a time around the table. It worked out really well. And then we would write interconnected short stories. We would come up with a theme and everybody would pick a character and we would write stories. It was very successful, worked out very well. For kids who are more readers and less writers, we could have book discussion groups. You can do those both online and in person. One thing that I would be interested in exploring with teenagers is how many are into fan fiction. Do they write it? Do they read it? Do they want to talk about what they like and what they don't like? I openly admit gaming, not so much my thing, but I'm willing to learn. My son can tell you definitely gaming is not so much my thing. He just made an editorial comment from the background. That said, crafting, and that was him walking by, crafting is something that I have an in on. I'm not spectacularly good at it myself. Sweet here for a minute. You get to show off. Show them your hat. My son is a knitter.
Oh, wow.
He made that hat. Okay, thank you. Go away now. I love you. He is always, not always happy, but periodically gets roped into running craft sessions where he shows people how to knit, how to make projects. We had him come in at Greenfield at one time and do a session on how to make little bow ties, duct tape wallets, and hats. That's right, duct tape hats, yes.
Yeah.
And I have a vast cadre of friends who can sew. They don't let me near their sewing machines, but they're able to use them. And I have resources, we'll put it that way.
Great.
And you know, some of those things, I'd love to see an Instagram account get set up where the teens can take pictures of things around town, so photography gets into it, or creating memes. That can be a lot of fun. I have lots of ideas that I'd love to see put in print.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Who's next?
Oh, that's me. Sorry. Falling down on the job. Here I go again. All right, so I have a leadership question for you. As library director, you'd be expected to show leadership with your staff and volunteers, as well as in the community. So I'd like you to describe what your leadership style is with people that you supervise, and what it is with peers, such as other department heads.
I have an interesting leadership style. Part of it's a lead by example, and part of it is something that I have said to every person who has worked with me. since I got my first job at Greenfield Community College and was as a 23-year-old who was having to supervise people who were literally twice my age as work study students. People don't work for me, they work with me. I don't ask them to do anything that I either A, haven't done myself, won't do myself, or will probably be doing myself in the next 5 or 10 minutes. The only exception to that is materials repair, because I'm incapable of cutting a straight line, and glue and I have a very strong relationship, generally where I get stuck to it and stuck to whatever it is I'm trying to fix. You think I'm kidding. They threw me out of the tech services office when we were redoing our DVD collection a handful of years ago because I couldn't put any of the stickers on straight. I kept getting the tape stuck to my legs. It was awful. My son is laughing in the background. Thank you, sweetie. Yes. In terms of with peers, I'm a consensus builder. I like to hear what people have to say. I like to be part of a group. I like to know what other people's opinions are. And then if it falls to me to make a decision, I will take all that into account and then make the best decision that I feel is best for the situation. But I'm also extremely willing to say when I don't know what I'm doing. I'm happy to ask for help when I don't know what I'm doing. And I find it's easier to talk about things and get things out in the open rather than let them fester and become problems. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the next question is about event planning. We have a history of running many events for all age groups and various interests. Tell us briefly about a library event you planned that was successful and one that was not. Also, what would you do differently in the future?
I can actually answer this one primarily with one program. Up until the point when our meeting rooms were closed in Greenfield, we had been doing a first Wednesday speaker series every month. First Wednesday of every month. The 1 month we didn't do it was when the 4th of July fell on a Wednesday because I convinced our director that A, no one was going to come, and B, we would not be able to get a presenter because it was the 4th of July. And we had both successes and somewhat less successful ventures with that. Our most successful one, and this one completely blew me away, we had a local resident come in and offer to do a talk on a book that he'd written comparing the journey of Odysseus, the journeys of Odysseus and Ulysses to the experiences of Vietnam veterans returning from the war. And we thought, okay, we'll have him come, we'll have him talk. It sounds pretty interesting. I had to close the blinds in the meeting room because we exceeded our, I probably shouldn't be saying this, we exceeded our fire code number by almost 20 people. And that kind of taught me to take a chance on things that I normally wouldn't think would go over well. On the flip side of that, a couple of years later, we had done a series of First Wednesdays where people seemed to feel that they were, even though they were aimed at everyone, people felt that they were aimed more at women than at men. So we invited a woodworker to come in. He was fascinating. I grew up in a furniture store, so I have this thing for wooden chairs, and he built wooden chairs, and he came in with a lot of his equipment, and he built a chair while he was doing the talk, and we thought, this is great. This is going to get some of the men in. They'll be all excited about this. We have a good woodworking community. We had 7 people. We were a little surprised It was fascinating. He made a lovely Windsor chair in front of us. It was gorgeous. And, you know, in terms of what I would do differently, I probably would have tried advertising it a bit more strenuously, maybe to groups that I hadn't thought about, you know, maybe sent things to some of the other town offices. We had put it on Facebook and sent out, you know, press releases and stuff. But, you know, I might have tried different venues of maybe putting up more signs around town. But overall, I find programming, if you'll pardon the expression, library programming tends to be a crapshoot, especially in the larger communities, because what we've discovered in Greenfield is that we get a lot of people who love to know that we're doing a lot of programming, but they don't necessarily come. I have to admit on being very jealous of some of the smaller communities. I talk to the librarian up in Northfield a lot, and every program she runs, she gets lots of people for. And I would love to have that opportunity to share some of the things that I've discovered over the years, some of the people, some of the programs, some of the presenters, with groups of people who will appreciate it. I did also discover that in terms of things you do differently, I had mentioned doing book groups with teenagers before. One of the things that I've discovered is that if the teenagers ask you to do a book group, get it in writing from them that they're actually going to show up. We did a series of book discussion groups. We were asked by 2 teen girls. They were desperate to get a book group started. They picked out the books. We ran it for 3 months and no one showed up. It was very discouraging, but a learning experience. You know, we discovered that, you know, the time didn't work because this one had an after-school job and that one had homework, and so we discovered to do more investigating before getting that started.
If I could jump in, Dan, do you want to ask the next question Becky was going to ask? Just to include you, Dan, do you want to ask it? It would be number 6.
Oh, he's not muted?
Dan, you're muted.
He is
right
muted.
now.
Great, here we are.
There you are.
Very good.
I had a barking dog and television was making noise. I don't know why it's turned off. So anyways, here we are. Could you tell us about your experiences developing and advocating for budgets with trustees, finance committees, town meetings, etc.? And what's your experience managing and reporting on a budget over the course of a year?
Okay, currently in Greenfield, I am in charge of the personnel budget. I build that every year, create that, give it to the director so that she can take a look at it. And I keep track of our materials expenditures. So every penny that gets encumbered, I have written down so that I know where we are with how much we've spent and how much we've looked at. In terms of creating a budget, I have been the acting director in Greenfield a couple of times, and at least one of those, if not 2 of them, it was a while ago, so I'm not remembering, I had to actually create the budget for the year. And one of them was around fiscal year 10 when everybody got cut and we laid a bunch of people off, and I had to advocate pretty hard for some staffing issues with our trustees, and then sat in front of town council and got to explain why I had suggested things that I had. They had the ultimate decision, but I at least felt that I had done what I could for my staff. In terms of managing and reporting on the budget over the course of a year, I was my synagogue's treasurer for 3 years and had to create the budget and make sure that they stuck to the budget and report on the budget every month. So while I haven't necessarily done it for the library, it's pretty much the same principle.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. And I have to admit, whenever I'm on mute and then I take myself off mute, my first inclination is almost always to go, can you hear me now?
I'm gonna put my best self back on mute.
Okay, I have a question on technology. What experience do you have maintaining computers, laptops, iPads, etc., and selecting and installing software? What experience do you have working with and maintaining wireless networks, antivirus and anti-malware software, and privacy controls?
Okay, this one is going to have a little bit of a story before I fully answer the question. When I started at the Greenfield Library way back in 1997, I was at the bottom of the totem pole. I was the youngest person on staff, but I was also the peon, basically. And we did a minor interior renovation in 1998 where we installed our first real computers. Up until that point, we had one computer with a dial-up internet extension that was in the children's room, and everything else was a dummy terminal. The person who was supposed to be in charge of helping the computer consultant build the network was the assistant reference librarian, now the director in Northfield. And the week the computers all showed up was the week that she was down in Rhode Island for her library school. So as the next person on staff who probably wasn't afraid of the darn things, I got to help build our library network from the ground up. I'm still in charge of the network. I no longer do all of the computer purchases because the town now has a central computer IT department that does that. But I've basically been in charge of all of the library technology from day one. I'm extremely comfortable with technology. The caveat would be a little bit with iPads. I speak PC much better than I speak Mac. I'm not quite bilingual, but I can manage. I have done the wireless network. I was actually working on one of our staff computers today with antivirus and anti-malware software. Her computer is working very slowly, and I'm working on figuring out why. I haven't used privacy controls as much. That is something that we decided not to filter in Greenfield, so I haven't really looked at that as much. But in terms of privacy per se, of keeping patrons' information off computers, I do know that one thing that Barbara said she was looking at one point was PC reservation, which isn't actually pertinent to what I was about to say, so never mind. But I do know how to, for the computers that the patrons use, I do know how to set up the settings so that it erases information when people log out. It doesn't hold on to people's email addresses or keep their passwords or things like that. That's one of the things that we have the biggest issue with in some cases with some of our patrons. As they come in, they say, well, I typed my password in yesterday, so I don't need to remember it because it's on your computer. And we smile and say, no, it's not. We're protecting you. We're protecting you from other people accessing your bank account. We're protecting you from other people accessing your email. So that technology is something that I am extremely comfortable and conversant with.
Okay, I have a question now about older adults, kind of similar to the young adult question. Could you tell us about your experience working with older adults? What have you found engages them? What services and activities would you offer them through the Irving Public Library?
One of the things that I would love to do, and this is my one caveat to the not being good at gaming, when we get to a point in time where we can have people back in the library, I would love to set up some kind of a Scrabble club. You get a whole bunch of Scrabble games and put them out for people to play. Get someone to come in and teach bridge or cribbage or any other card games. One thing that I unintentionally discovered tend to attract more older people. I was opening it up to everyone, but this is who the community was. One of the book discussion groups that I ran for a number of years, and then it sort of spun off on its own, which was fabulous, was a book group on classic books. So like we would do 4 months of Dickens or 4 months of a theme. One of them I remember was Wanton Women. And it was The Scarlet Letter and Age of Innocence and a couple, I think, Death of the D'Urbervilles, and I don't remember what the fourth one was. And that, interestingly enough, as I said, I opened it up to everyone. And I got asked at one point in time if we could hold it earlier in the day because once winter came, people didn't want to be out driving. That's fine. We have the room, you can have the time. That worked out great. So I also think that things like the drop-in knitting and crocheting work out well. Start a knitting group at the library. Libraries are intended to be community centers as well as places where people go for knowledge and entertainment.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Sorry, I hear breathing in the hallway.
I know, I could see, we can see him kind of in the doorway.
Yes. Hi, sweetheart.
It's kind of funny. He's not really lurking too much, but thank you.
No, but ever since he was little, I've had to tell him, Mommy is not interesting when she's on the phone. Yes, and he just said, Mommy is most interesting when she's on the phone.
So the next question is also about technology. Can you please share with us some experience you've had with teaching the less savvy people about their technology?
Oh, I don't think we have enough time for that. One of the things that we offer that I would definitely start doing at Irving if I'm given the chance are one-on-one tech sessions. It's basically a book-a-librarian. You come in with your device or your question, and we sit down and we help you do it. I had one woman who I give her all due credit for keeping with it, came in once a week for 6 months to learn how to use a mouse and a keyboard. She said, I don't know nothing about these computers and I want you to teach me. And I said, all righty. So we taught her how to use the mouse, we taught her how to use the keyboard, we taught her how to use Google. And then she looked and she said, okay, now I want to learn how to use Facebook so I can talk to my grandchildren. And we set her up with a Facebook account. And the last time I saw her, was a couple years ago. She had come in with a tablet that she just purchased because she liked our computers, but she wanted to be able to talk to her grandchildren anytime she wanted, not just when she could come in and get time on our computers. We were so proud of her. But we have people who come in with help for their phones. We had one woman who came in last year right before the holidays trying to do a holiday card, and she couldn't figure out how to get her pictures off the phone and onto the computer and uploaded into the site that was doing it. And I'll stop because I could literally go on for hours with this.
Yep.
Sorry, Rupert. Hang
Good,
on
I'm
one
not the
moment.
only one.
No, I was doing so well, keeping ahead of everybody, and there you go, Rupert. You're good.
Okay, now I'm unmuted.
Sorry.
I didn't realize my typing was a bother. Then I muted myself, but it was too late. All right.
That chat feature can be so pesky.
Availability. So as I'm sure you know, we're open Sundays. It's one of our busiest days. When we go back to being a brick and mortar library on Care Drive, we expect to stay open Sundays. It's the best day. And we just want to check out with you how you feel about working on Sundays.
I have worked a lot of really weird shifts in libraries over the course of my career. And if Sunday is the shift, Sunday is the shift. You know, there may be the occasional, I might need a day off because there is a family something going on, but doesn't bother me at all.
Cool, thank you.
actually makes my fiance a little happy because he works Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So at least that would be one day that if I'm not with him, at least I'm not by myself.
Great. Okay, collaboration. Here in Irving, the director collaborates with the school librarian, the monthly town newsletter, the senior center, etc. Can you speak to your experience and/or vision collaborating with other town groups? And what did you learn from your experiences?
I think that collaboration is really a huge part of what libraries are about. You need the support of the community. You need to support your community. So I could definitely see having the kids from the, once everything is open again, having the kids come in for story times and projects at the library, providing materials for the school library if they're needed. I could definitely see, the senior center if they, okay, I'm going to ask a question that's going to show my ignorance because I didn't get a chance to look at this either. Does Irving have a senior center?
Irving actually has
Yes.
a senior community center, and it's literally across the roadway from the library.
Where
So
the library is, okay.
they face each other.
Because I know that in some communities there is a senior center in name only, but not necessarily a physical building. So, having meetings, if there's programs going on at the senior, bless you, if there are programs going on at the senior center and they have overflow, offering them the space in the library, seeing if we can collaborate on music programs or getting performers or interesting presenters to come in. Movie nights, that would be a fabulous collaboration between multiple different departments. In terms of writing in terms of the monthly town newsletter, I'm a writer. One of the things that I do in my spare time when I have it is I write a blog, I write short stories, hence the young adult writing group. It was a insinuating, nasty way to get the kids into my habits so that I could do some writing as well. I think you need to know, it's part of the communication. You need to know what's going on and you need to share what's going on. And not everybody is hooked up to technology, but almost everybody gets and/or reads the monthly town newsletter. And that's a good way to share what's happening at the library and find out what other people are looking for the library to do for them.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And so the last question, of course, is a question for you to ask of us. Do you have any questions or anything that we haven't answered, or would you like to share with us anything that you haven't had a chance to answer, that you haven't had a chance to share?
I do have a couple of questions. The first one is the generic, what is your timeline?
So we have 3 days of interviews, and then after that, the trustees will be the ones that make the final decision. So we're hoping to make that sooner rather than later so that there's enough overlap with the outgoing director, even though, again, this will be a little bit different in that you can't physically go into the building. At least
into the building, yes.
Yeah, at least lots of virtual meetings can happen between you and the current director, kind of passing the torch as far as information that you'll need to know, as well as, of course, meetings with the rest of the library staff. So she is retiring at the end of June. So as soon as we we're going to make the best effort to make the decision as quickly as possible to optimize the amount of time the current director is still here.
And I'm sure Barbara appreciates that you're moving as quickly as you can.
Yep.
So that would be one. The other one is a bit more open-ended. What is it that you're looking for in a director?
I think everybody might have a different answer. I think overall we are looking for somebody who really can make our brand new building somewhere that everybody wants to be, a place that everybody wants to come and visit, and to just continue to to make Irving's library the central, a central part of the town, and welcoming all of the different parts of town, different people in town.
Different populations, different age groups.
Yep. Dan, you're still muted. We really want to hear you.
I just waved my hand.
I know, that's how I knew you were talking.
Thank you. Just a slight addition. Our library readership and usage in a variety of areas has gone up dramatically in a few years. And although we applaud interesting new things and willing to try interesting new things, from my point of view, we don't want to in any way go backwards from what seems to be working. So that's part of what we're looking for as a director, to continue along with some of the things we're doing and bring new ideas that we had not thought of.
Okay, and I did notice that I went into the MBLC and looked up your statistics for the last couple of years. So I did notice that your stats have been going up, which is fabulous. You can't, as a librarian, you can't beat that. You want to see people coming and using your library and reading the materials and using your equipment and things like that. So that's wonderful. I give Barbara a lot of kudos for that happening while she was working on a building project. That is just insane.
Yeah. Speaking for myself, I feel like one of the things that's desperately needed in a small town like ours is activities and things for young people to do. When I was parenting, a place to come with my toddler, where I wasn't stuck in the house. And when my toddler became a teenager, a place to go that wasn't home or somebody else's house. And I think that that's really one of the vital things to make the town a vital place, my personal opinion.
Yep, I would echo that. Small towns, you need that central place for kids to gather that isn't going to be somewhere that they are getting into trouble or sitting at home by themselves.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess I'd like to say that as sort of somebody who has observed a lot. I've been at the school now since 2007, believe it or not. Barbara has done just amazing things. It's going to be big shoes to fill, a kind of a hard act to follow. And yet I think the town is really looking, I think like as Dan said, to have things continue, and yet somebody who can just come in and be a strong leader too, even if they do take this beautiful new building into different directions. I think, so it's been exciting. Barbara was very, what's the word? She really listened to the community a lot. And I think from my standpoint, that made a big difference to certainly people I work with at the school. So I think people are excited about this new building and new director. And as you'll miss, what you had said about your former position, I know we'll miss Barbara, but I think people are really looking forward to just the new directions we can go in.
What comes next?
Yeah.
Right.
So do you have any other questions?
Just one other. I know that the building has been closed and the staff has not been working due to the COVID-19. Has the staff started returning, and is there a plan in place for starting to offer library services again? I have a lot of ideas on that as well, but just curious what's happening at the moment.
So, sure. So while the actual physical building isn't open, our library staff actually is working. They are working remotely. So they're offering story times. They're offering, Jean is doing a wonderful STEM program that, you know,
Excellent.
she videos and then uploads. Barbara has been offering some other, again, remote programming. So we are still, in a sense, up and running. It's just that we're not doing our typical checkout books, you know,
Right.
paid in the library. As far as opening it back up, I think that was your other part of your question. That's, you know, right now we are waiting for guidance from, you know, the governor and, you know, lots of the other stakeholders to make that decision. So currently the building is, you know, and will remain closed. But
Okay.
for our library assistants and our director is currently working. They are currently working.
Okay, yeah, because I know every library is doing it just a little bit differently, so I wasn't 100% sure where you fell on that spectrum. So, okay, thank you, and
Great.
more power to you.
Can I just add that, can I just add that since we've been working at home, I have been working more and harder than I worked when I had my lovely place to go to.
Yeah. Jean has been an absolute trooper with Wi-Fi, you know, issues and, you know, finding hotspots everywhere and making it happen.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Congratulations and good for you. I know that's hard.
Yep. So if you know, unless anyone else has anything else to add, or you have any other questions, I think
I'm good at the moment.
Okay, great. So Lisa, I think we have what we need from you. And
Great.
yeah, thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you so much for making this possible, and I will email Brian and apologize for bothering him incessantly about, hey, I haven't gotten the link yet. I haven't gotten the link yet. I haven't gotten the link yet.
Technology.
So thank you very much. Oh yeah, thank you very much. And
Me too.
if I'm not your selected candidate, good luck with your choice. I hope I am, but you're going to end up with someone who's going to be good for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye,
I can't
Lisa.
find my cursor. There we go.
No, I never. Host.
Yeah, so we actually need to, one moment.
Oh, there we go. Yay.
Just give me one moment. I just want to make sure we're where we think we are. Okay, so those were our two candidates for tonight. I want to thank you all for joining and working through the issues that we have. And Jean, thank you for flipping on and off the screen so that they could come on. That was nice, even though we finally get to like see you in a home and you're the one who suggests, you know, going on. So I assume then you figured out what.
For me, it was more important that I got to see them than they got to see me, but I didn't want them to see me huddled in the car, you know, shivering with the coat on, looking like the Grim Reaper.
Right. Exactly.
You didn't look like the Grim Reaper. You did look shivering, but you didn't look like the Grim Reaper.
Okay. So it's same time tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So okay, so it sounded like when we left off that the people were feeling like they were going to use their rubric, they were going to score each candidate, and then we would talk about it on Saturday after the last candidate gets interviewed. Okay, it's just it makes it a long Saturday. I just, you know, I want to kind of put that out there that that's going to be a long time, but okay. And Rupert, you'll pick up the other rubrics tomorrow, so you'll be all set with that. Okay, great. So please just make sure that for each candidate, you're filling out that question rating form, the rubric, and that you're giving them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that way we can be consistent with all of our candidates and have a consistent rating across the board.
That should make things go a little quicker on Saturday also. When
Hopefully.
you have, this one's got 42, that one's got 56, whatever. And
Yep.
it should help us start.
Yep, that's my hope as well. Yep. What was I going to say? Nope, I don't know. I lost it. Okay, so we will meet back here, same time, same place. Yes, Rupert.
As is my want, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Love that motion.
Thank you, Rupert.
Jane?
I'll second.
Jane's going to second.
I haven't really been taking notes, but there's no notes. And I do have the minutes from the last meeting. I just, as I logged on earlier, I realized I didn't do anything with them. Should I share them with everybody maybe as soon as we get off and you'll have them and just vote on them tomorrow, or?
The draft ones, from the
Yeah, from the meeting that we had where we made up the questions. They're basically about the questions.
If you would just email them out just so we can review them ahead of the and either tomorrow or Saturday. I think either wherever it makes most sense, we'll go ahead and stick those in to approve them.
Okay.
Yep, Dan.
Could I also ask, when those minutes and as the minutes come along and each set is approved, might we ask Brian to get some of these things posted on the website? I was looking yesterday and I was kind of short on finding minutes and agendas and posted meetings, and it may be my inadequacy of being able to find stuff will be me, not the site. But it would be good to have some of these things on the town website so people are aware there's this process ongoing and they don't just read one day, oh, we picked the library director, and they all start asking how'd that all happen. They don't have a clue. So just getting a little bit out might start some discussion around the community.
Sure.
Nope, that's good. I know we had amended the minutes and they were fine. I just kind of slipped my mind, and I think I emailed them to Brian either Wednesday or Thursday. So it was just the other day that he got the minutes from, I'm looking at the calendar. That was the first meeting, the April 22nd one. And now I've got the ones for the April 27th, but I'll get those out to all of you and we can look at them. I don't know about the rest of the things, agendas and meeting notices, but
that's on Brian's end. So I'll just touch base with him and just check in on that. And then the minutes from today are going to be fairly short. There's just simply going to be that we interviewed 2 candidates using our, predetermined
rubrics. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Because I didn't take any notes, but that's it. Other than Rupert just moved that it's over. I second it. We haven't voted yet, but that's you, Mackenzie. I'm stepping on your toes there.
I don't think anybody's going to want to stay any longer than we need to. So I all in favor of adjourning.
Aye.
Aye.
Great. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey.
See you tomorrow.
Jean, before you go, she's going. Jean, I'm going to email you about, I didn't realize you were doing programs, but I can share that information with families, right? Or Mackenzie, I don't know if you're doing anything with the remote learning plans, but every week I submit stuff to teachers and families, all this. We've got this kind of procedure going on. So if there's anything coming up that you would like me to get the word out to families, let me know, or I'll email you, okay?
Well, if I could just jump in, Jane, I have been taking the ones that Jean and Andrea have been giving me, and Tom has been putting them on the website under the, I'm trying to remember what the name of the tab is, maybe video tab. I have to look at the screen to remember, but they are on our school website. So if you want to make mention that they're there and drive more people over to them, that would be great. but we are
Okay.
putting them on the school website for everyone, for, all the kids to see.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of, we have no idea who's looking at what, but
Yeah.
all we can do is put it out there and hope that people are paying attention somehow.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry, Jean, didn't mean to.
we were using the school website only because Lisa was saying that she didn't want Class Dojo to be
Oh, I
inundated with 100 things. So the website is where it went. And
Right.
without it in front of me, I can't remember what the link is
Okay.
called, but it's one of the blue one of the
Like
blue
the tabs.
ones.
Cool. Great. But yeah, I'll take a look at that too and see what I can promote. But again, all we
Yeah,
can
it'd be
do
great
is
to
cross
see.
our fingers and hope somebody's out there paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all we can do.
Okay. See you all tomorrow. Bye, Becky. Bye, Charlie. If you're
Bye.
still there.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Whoa, where am I? There. Oops.